So lately I've been thinking about how the Swedish top tier could look like in the near future. We already have the latest non-stealths from Finland and even from Norway, but not really from Sweden. Even though we quite recently got the lovely Gripen E, they added a very specific version of the Gripen E. Confused? Well, if we zoom in on the Gripen, do you see these numbers? These are the identification numbers. One of those numbers is 396002. What does this mean? 39 stands for Gripen, 6 stands for E, and 002 is the interesting part. That's the number built for the Swedish Air Force, meaning that the second Gripen E, ever from the factory, was the one they decided to add. Mind you, this is even a pre-serial production model of the Gripen E. So what does this mean, and why is Sweden missing out? It could mean three things, actually, but one of them could change top tier for Sweden. But let's start with the boring theory first. They might have simply put, just been too lazy to implement the correct Gripen, but I find it very unlikely that this is the case. Sure, they've been losing their attention to detail lately, but except for that, War Thunder is one of those games known for just that, attention to detail. So I don't think that's what happened. My second theory is the most interesting one. That we will actually see a Gripen E late or a Gripen E serial version, something along those lines. But what would that bring to Sweden? And how is it different from the regular Gripen E we see in game? Well, first of all, the most notable difference, the serial production version of the Gripen E has larger control surfaces. What does this mean then? Well, the data is obviously not official, except for the fact that it now supports a heavier payload. But generally, larger control surfaces mean better turn time, more lift, and lower stall speeds, which in turn means better dogfighting performance. This is already enough to consider it as a new plane in the eyes of Gaijin. I mean, look at the Rafale M and the two Finnish Hornets, but I think they'd bring it even further. You see, there's a whole list of things that are wrong about the Gripen E on the forums. That is, wait for it, 700 replies long. That's quite a lot of discussions and inaccuracies for one plane. So what I think will happen is that they will, if we're lucky, add those simple things missing on the Gripen E, like the laser warning receivers, and the simpler things like the afterburner being the wrong color, to the Gripen E late instead of the one we have in game currently. This would make the new Gripen E late much more worth the grind if they don't add them to the old Gripen E. But there's even more things that could change the Gripen's performance, the obvious thing being its missing weapons like the Iris-T, the Meteors, and many more. But those won't get added until we get the next-gen missiles. Another thing that could change the Gripen's performance is if they add its ability to carry up to 14 missiles. Yup, you heard me. 14 missiles on a Gripen. This is possible thanks to dual weapon racks, something the Gripen E is advertised to be able to carry. If Gaijin actually adds this, I think they'll add it on the Gripen E late and not the current one. This would give them another reason to add this Gripen late. Before we leave this Gripen E late, I have another theory when they'd add it and why. Since it's confirmed that the US is getting a new version of an already existing fighter just to carry the new AMRAAM-D, the same thing could happen with the Gripen E late since it has the ability to use the AIM-120C8, which is one of the AMRAAM versions Sweden uses, nearly identical to the D version. This could be paired with the possible addition of next-gen missiles, meaning that the Gripen E late is very much possible, leaving the Gripen E over to the Gripen E's older brother, the Gripen NG Demo. This is a plane I've written a suggestion about, and it's a true workhorse. Just some quick history about it. The Gripen NG Demo, often called just Gripen Demo, is one of Saab's demonstrators and test jets for the Gripen E platform, meaning that nearly every system of the Gripen E is in some way integrated into the Gripen Demo. The difference now is that the Gripen Demo is based on a two-seater, a Gripen B, later converted to a Gripen D. It's also missing its cannon. But that cannon is traded for slightly higher survivability compared to the Gripen E, and also a quite lighter airframe. Other than that, it has the same tech and the same amount of missiles as the Gripen E, 7 Fox 3s plus 2 heat seekers. Now you can read the suggestion about it to get to know more about this pretty unknown plane, but I feel like this is a pretty realistic addition, since it would be Sweden's equivalent to the Rafale M. They would have different choices when it comes to how and where to implement it. I'd say the best way is to add it below the F-16, but it could also be added as a folder, or even worse, as a premium or an event vehicle. Speaking of Gripens, other possible additions are the Gripen B, D, and maybe the Gripen F once in production. Those would honestly not provide anything very unique, rather than the removal of guns in exchange for higher survivability. But they are still possible additions as folder vehicles, which do not hurt the grind. I unfortunately wouldn't expect them that soon though. Let's leave the Gripens for now and look at the future stealth platforms. We know for sure that Sweden will get an F-35 sooner or later. But which one? Denmark, Norway, and Finland all have F-35s. Let's first compare the three. The Danish one is the most simple one, being more or less the exact same F-35A as the standard. The Norwegian one is where it becomes interesting. Norway is the only nation with drag chutes on their F-35As, which means that they've much better stopping performance than the other F-35As. This was chosen because of Norway's icy conditions, where extra stopping performance is crucial. The fact that Finland chose a copy-paste F-35A surprised me here, since they ditched the drag chute while also spending lots of money on their road bases, just like Sweden, where stopping performance is more needed than ever. In short, Finland and Denmark, regular F-35As. Norway, F-35As, but upgraded for better stopping performance. So here's what I think. They'll add the Finnish F-35 as a rank 9 below the F/A-18 and the Norwegian one in the F-16 line. Again, it's about the same difference as the Rafale M and the regular one, if not more, and easy enough for Gaijin to add that it's realistic. But what about Swedish Stealth? Here's the exciting part. Saab is currently working on a new stealth fighter, which will fly within its demonstrator stage already next year. Maybe as early as this year. The problem? It's unmanned. But maybe, just maybe, War Thunder will add it. And these are just my own speculations based on my theories and nothing else. But Saab might build a manned version of it too, that could get added to War Thunder. But that's honestly very far-fetched, since it won't be fully operative in many years. Well, that were my predictions for what we can expect for Sweden Air. If you want more ideas from me of what could get added instead of what I think will get added, comment, because I've got a ton of ideas.